Hello everyone, you are watching Spotlight brought to you by Frontlist. Spotlight is a one of its kind show in which we address some of the most important and impactful issues of the publishing and allied industries. For today's episode, we are going to be talking about the much talked about topic of Sci-Hub and LibGen. And for that, we have with us three very eminent personalities as our panelists. I would like to welcome Dr. Ashok Gupta, Chairman of the Indian Reprographic Rights Organization and Honorary General Secretary of FIP, Mr. Seshadri, General Secretary of Association of Publishers in India, and Advocate Mr. Rahul Goyal. My name is Anshita Singh, and I am going to be moderating today's session.
LibGen or Sci-Hub, thank you, Anshita. First of all, I am of the firm belief that there should not be any free lunch. And it is a commercial venture, and maybe for some people, maybe under some donations or something, they are doing some activity. But that does not give them the right to pay the material of someone else and then try to sell it as their own. The publishers are claiming they have not used some authorized means to get it. In my opinion, that is not a good exercise and it will not survive in the long term. Maybe in short term, they might get some benefit, but in the long term, this is not going to survive. This is my take.
Right. Mr. Seshadri, what would you like to add on that?
Okay, I would say, first of all, thank you for inviting me to this Spotlight program. I would say I can't comment on this because we don't know what are the permissions they have taken, where do they stand. We need to deep dive and see what are the content that they are populating. So we don't have visibility on what is the rights issues there. So it's not correct for us to comment without knowing what the background by which this is being run. But I think, as I said, why only talk about one or two? There are governments now, there are universities now, there are schools now who are archiving their entire library and throwing it open to the public for free usage. Now that's a much larger question about who gave them the authority to digitize, who gave them the authority to make it available for public use. So there is a clear indication that the industry and the government need to sit down and have a good conversation on how are we going to address these issues. So that's my first response. Thank you.
Right, sir. Mr. Goyal, what do you have to say about that?
So first of all, I would like to congratulate you for hosting this session, and the topic that you have chosen is very, very important, both for the scientific community and for the publishers. And these are not just my words. The same sentiment was repeated in the Delhi High Court in the recent hearing when the matter was being heard, and the hearing was on by Justice Midha. Now, I'm in rather complete agreement with Dr. Gupta that there are no free lunches, so to speak. But when we talk about the entire concept and the entire issue revolving Sci-Hub or LibGen or similar kind of platforms, the issue is more about the data being made available to the people, those who want it and those who cannot pay for it. There are issues with respect to how and to what extent they have procured the material, whether they have paid the publishers for that material, whether that has been procured by way of phishing, and there are a lot of issues which revolve around LibGen, Sci-Hub, and similar platforms. But I think one important aspect here is that the market is changing and the market is evolving. Even the entire publishing industry is going through an evolutionary phase, which I'm sure Dr. Gupta would be, is the best person to know about that and can speak much more on the evolution of this market and the industry. But purely from the legal standpoint, I think there are a couple of issues which need to be looked into from the Copyright Act, from the point of view of infringement. There is a concept of fair use, which would also come into play when the matter comes up for hearing before the Delhi High Court. There are also concerns which have been raised by the academia, scientific community, as well as students as to what extent they should be paying for these articles. Now, obviously, the publishers would say that there is some amount which has to be paid as a royalty. You have the concept of royalty as well. But that is the concept, and that is the thing that needs to be debated in detail. There is a long history in terms of the cases which have been filed across the globe. Qua Sci-Hub or LibGen, starting from 2015 in US and then until 2019, most recently in Belgium and France. But I think from the Indian standpoint, the government, I'm sure, would have to be made aware of the issues. There has to be much more public debate on these issues so that there can be a consensus which can be built. And the government has been, I think, has been pretty sensitive to the new environment or the changing environment. So there needs to be little more talk in terms of how the scientific community can benefit from these sources and resources without kind of taking away the due credit or the payments to the publishing fraternity.
Absolutely. So anything more that Dr. Gupta, you or Mr. Seshadri, you would like to add to what Mr. Goyal just said?
I think he sort of looked at the, go ahead, Mr. Gupta, go ahead.
I think I would go by Mr. Rahul and as well as Seshadri. More or less, all three of us are talking in the same terms. At least there should be some amount to be paid when someone is making available some content of someone else's to someone else. I think all three of us do agree on these points. I think that is the best thing, and we need more discussions on this so that Government of India also becomes a, well, understand our point of view, publishers' point of view, and others' point of view. I think that is needed.
Absolutely. Mr. Seshadri, you were saying something.
Yeah, so I was saying that I think, there is a legal perspective, there is an operational perspective, there's a publisher's perspective. I think the fundamental thing is that we are talking at the right time because the Government of India is currently looking to amend the Copyright Act. And this is the best time to probably start advocacy, talk familiarization about how it affects the industry as a whole and how these things cannot be taken any more lightly, particularly with the increasing usage of digital technology and digital platforms. This becomes much more important to address on an ASAP basis. That's what I wanted to add.
Absolutely. I think we can all agree on that. And also piracy has become so common. Matlab, we come across piracy like every day, in every day of our lives. We see people taking out printouts. We see people distributing PDFs. What do you have to say on that?
I would say, again, going back from the research desk, currently our estimation is about 20 to 25% of loss of revenue within the publishing fraternity, and that's extremely significant. And also, I would say, given the pandemic situation, nobody wants to lose revenue. So we need to really, really address this. So if you look at, we have been listed, I think I was looking at a report from the US that in the 2019, I'm just looking at that figure, the Office of the US Trade Representative, the USTR report, put India under the 36 countries inadequate and ineffective laws to protect copyrighted piracy. So we really need to, look at where that index will be. While the Government of India is looking at ease of doing business and getting that index up, we also need to look at how we can get much more friendlier and get that index up in terms of that we are no longer seen as a, pirate hub or pirate den. And that's something which needs to be addressed very, very clearly because piracy is a big issue.
Absolutely. Dr. Gupta, would you like to add something to that?
First of all, I do not deny that piracy is there in India, but I would not like India to be labeled as pirate country or something. That I would not like to. And second, I would not like to subscribe to any data which is being thrown by some foreign country under some, that I do not believe. But I do agree that piracy is there in India. And we will not be able to eradicate it completely. That also I see. It is going to be a difficult exercise to completely eradicate piracy. What I want is maybe Government of India should spend some funds to inculcate some good respect for copyright. I think they need to promote this concept about copyright, respect for copyright. And I would go up to the extent of including one chapter in school books so that from the early age group, people start understanding what is copyright. And even if you are copying it for some purpose, it is a stealing of someone else's property. So this, I think, this inculcation for respect for copyright, I think that is more important, and gradually it will take some time, but Government of India should come forward to create awareness about copyright. Just by taking strict actions or something of that, I think it will not solve our problem. We have to develop this awareness about copyright and respect for copyright. I would go by that theory.
Absolutely. Mr. Goyal, anything that you'd like to add?
See, I think piracy definitely is a major concern and a very big issue. From the practical standpoint, from business standpoint, and from the legal standpoint. And there is no denying to the fact that piracy is an offense, cannot be promoted, and cannot be, cannot be lived with. So obviously there has to be a situation wherein there has to be a mechanism of dealing with piracy. Now the larger issue in terms of piracy, in terms of the trends, the way you would look at it, that piracy is directly linked to your affordability. Now, if I may give an example here, from the early stages of 2000, wherein the telephone calls, international telephone calls or domestic telephone calls were very expensive. And at that point in time, you saw a lot of illegal telephone exchanges mushrooming up across India. And that was a major concern for the Government of India, for the Department of Telecommunication as well. But over the years, because the calls and the channel of communication became so affordable, all these illegal telephone exchanges just vanished. And now today, you wouldn't see illegal telephone exchanges for regular communication purposes because the communication channel itself is so affordable. Similarly, if you talk about the piracy in terms of the content, the video content, I think with the emergence of OTP, alternate platforms, the piracy in that space has also come down. And the linkage essentially is towards the affordability. Today, if somebody can look and buy the content at a cheaper rate, I don't think he would go and buy a fabricated copy of some document or any book. So I think to some extent we have to look at, from business standpoint, from the industry standpoint, piracy as well as affordability is one big thing that needs to be looked into. Also, I think, what Dr. Gupta said in terms of the government's intervention, I think over the years, what you would have seen is that, OTT emerged as one of the big platforms for viewership. And there was no regulation around OTT platforms. And, there were a lot of concerns in terms of the content over the OTT. But, OTT emerged sometime in 2014, got importance during the COVID-19 pandemic. And last year around November, government realized that, they need to have a regulation around OTT platforms in the media. And they came up, with the amendment in the law to that effect. So I think, what Dr. Gupta is saying, I'm in agreement that, government has to be sensitized on these issues. There possibly needs to be a regulation in place to handle the piracy part. But again, the industry would also have to look at how, to what extent they can make the content more affordable to the masses, to the public at large, to the students, to the academia.
Most of the people, they do not even know when they do reproduction of any published work. They do not even realize that they are doing some illegal activity. This is a major issue. Most of us would not do any illegal activity once we realize it. And if the content is made available at a reasonable price, I think we will be ready to pay. So we should not say just price. I think most of us do not even know about it, that we are doing any illegal activity when we go for it, reproduction of something. So I think awareness, creating awareness discussions, and maybe something on a huge scale, massive scale, Government of India has to do, along with trade associations, along with publishers, all of us put together. I think even authors, creators, everyone has to come forward to create this awareness about the copyright law and its risk we need to have.
No, I'm in complete agreement with what Dr. Gupta, suggested. While I was studying in UK, I would, recall that when we went to the library, there were posters there, and there were, leaflets in the library close to the photocopier machine to suggest and tell that how many pages or to what percentage we can copy from a book. Which would bring in the awareness to tell the people that you can't just copy entire book. Maybe you can copy a couple of pages, even in an educational institution. So that awareness, which is completely missing, which is completely lacking at this stage, that initiative should have been taken by the institutes, by the educational institutes, by the library. But I think we are not too late in that, stage. And I would agree with Dr. Gupta to say that that awareness should be brought in at least to start with at the university level. The larger institutions should take that initiative in terms of educating their students and telling them that to what level the content can be copied and to what level you can copy the books.
Correct. So we have Mr. Seshadri back with us. So you can continue what you were saying.
No, I was only talking about the accessibility, particularly in a country like India, where the content accessibility is one of the challenges, not just affordability alone. That's what I was trying to say. And then Amazon was following a model in the US to solve this problem. India may not be wanting to get there. They started lending books to college students through a clear program. And then they made sure that the affordability was made, easier in terms of students taking the textbooks and sharing it. So I'm not saying that that's a model that we want to follow, but people are trying continuously to find solutions, thereby the accessibility increases, whereby the piracy is brought down.
So in my view, one of the big participants to the entire debate and the concept and the evolution of the new law would be the students, because they are the ones who would get hugely impacted by whatever changes that are brought in. So the discussion along with the academia, with the publishers, with the students, I think would be the next way forward.
Absolutely.
I think we have to assure students. We are not asking for a huge amount from students. It would be very, very nominal amount. So suppose they are paying 1 rupee, just for the sake of saying, suppose they are paying 1 rupee a page. We are asking say 5-10 paisa per page. That is all we are asking for a royalty. We are not asking a huge amount. It is not going to make any dent on their pockets. Nothing. I'm doubtful of. People are just talking about it, but it is going to be very, very nominal amount. Per page, how much we are asking? We are not asking something big amount.
Right.
That needs to be then codified, sir. So that the message says sent out very clearly that what is it that you're demanding.
How much we can charge and how much should be the right amount. Yes, that is okay. That is okay. I am open for discussion of this kind.
Correct. No, I'm being very neutral here. I'm not advocating what students are saying. Neither I'm saying what publishers are saying is wrong. I'm playing a very neutral player here.
I think the point that I think comes out very clearly is, can we define fair use in a manner that the student or the user understands it? At the moment, I think that advocacy is missing. Everybody using the word loosely, saying fair use. I think we need to define and articulate what fair use means.
Right.
I think we can all agree on that. So also, we've spoken about Sci-Hub and LibGen, but there are many other shadow websites who are doing this, who are producing this kind of content. What do you have to say about such websites?
I think issues are same. We have to have certain guidelines under the copyright law up to what extent they can go. I think this is very technical because of this technology. New things are. Suppose you are able to block one site, the very next day they come out with another site. It is very difficult. How to go about it, that I do not understand. But some sort of restrictions or something needs to be done. But issues are same.
Right, Mr.
See, in my view, it's only the names that would get changed. As Dr. Gupta said, the issues would remain the same. Whether it's a legal issue, the practical issue, or the business issue, the concerns would remain the same. You may only change the name, in terms of the entities that may come up in future.
Right. Mr. Seshadri, anything that you'd like to add?
I think they both have covered the topic. All I would say is look at what's happening in Australia today with regard to content monetization and look at where we are today. I mean, they've gone to the extent of Facebook has shut down in Australia as we speak, and there are a lot of uproar in the market. So I think we need to be much more aggressive in order to protect our authors, to protect our innovators, to protect our writers. Because there are a lot of authors who don't have a 9-to-5 job, or they don't have a regular income that comes into their bank account at the end of every month as in the form of a salary. They're all dependent on their writing skills and their writing abilities, and they want to make money out of their own skills, right? And that literature part of, or the emotional part of the author, if it is taken away by the pirate in some form or the other, I think we need to address that, because tomorrow some of us who are on this panel could become authors. And how would we like it if our content is being taken away by somebody else?
Right. So also, do you think, digitalization has some role to play in the, increasing plagiarism that there is right now? Has digitalization affected it?
Yes, to a large extent, because of the technology. Earlier, it was quite difficult to replicate something. Now it has become so easy with DTP, new programs. You can very easily cut and paste it in some other document. I think no doubt about it. It has increased the piracy or the plagiarism. I think it has become very easy to duplicate something. So definitely.
My view, I would say it has become easier to detect plagiarism now, with the technology being in place. Earlier, so my view is that plagiarism has been there for the longest period, whether documented or non-documented. But in the early years, if somebody were to copy from some text, it would be very difficult to kind of identify the source and whether it has been plagiarized. Now with the technology, with the digital platforms, although it has also led to increased plagiarism, but I think detection has become much more faster on those issues.
So I would say, as you embrace technology, there is going to be plus and minus. We need to look at what is the plus that the technology brings and what's the minus that brings, right? For example, I would say plagiarism is now being controlled in a fine manner because there are a lot of technology tools that are being sold in the market. And if you sort of put those manuscripts into the funnel, it will spit out and tell you whether is plagiarized or not. So a lot of publishers use these technology inventions. But having said that, I would agree with Mr. Gupta that, going after the digital pirate is getting more complicated, even though we have a good, what shall I say, the technology cell in the police department, which is supposed to track all the stuff. But I think we don't have the enforcement capability in terms of human resources or enforcement capability in terms of geography. Otherwise, there is technology. I mean, if somebody is pirating my book, maybe within 5 seconds, I can find out from which IP is coming in and trying to create it. But how to go after him and how to get him is an issue. But I think the recent phenomena that piracy is coming in a form is that I see a few publishers, I don't want to name them, are bringing or plagiarizing overseas content. For instance, they take it from US or UK and take the content and sell it to African countries or Singapore or Malaysia. And it's extremely difficult to find out because those markets don't know where this content came from, right? So it's about globalizing plagiarism in a manner is what is my worry at this point of time.
Absolutely. Also, do you all feel somewhere innovation is being hampered because of such shadow websites? The content, the research papers are available for free to the masses. Do you think the innovators also somehow, get disrupted because of this?
It does affect. It did not get compensation what the innovator would like to have, what the creators of content would like to have. It does affect. But maybe I think they will stop doing it. This, I think, a very extreme level of thinking.
I don't think innovators are going to stop innovating or creating, or authors are going to stop writing. Obviously, every author's aspiration is to have a wider readership.
Right.
They don't want 5 people to read, they want 5,000 people to read, 500,000 people to read. That's why they write, because they want a wider readership. That doesn't mean that we can sit back and keep quiet saying, irrespective of piracy, irrespective of plagiarism, fresh content is being written. We also need to act on the matter that needs to be actioned, right? So just because innovation doesn't stop or writers don't stop, we also don't put a hot button on going after the pirates and going after the plagiarism people.
No, I'm in absolute agreement with Dr. Gupta and Mr. Seshadri. So I don't think that whether they're innovating, and they would continue to innovate no matter what happens. But there has to be a check in place in terms of ensuring that the creations are not misused or exploited.
Meanwhile, Mr. Goyal was saying that, there are laws that are pretty much there and, but not a lot of people implement it. What do you have to say on that, Dr. Gupta?
Most of Indian publishers, they are very small publishers. First of all, copyright law as such is quite good, Indian copyright law. There are civil as well as criminal proceedings available, remedies available. But to file a case of infringement is quite a costly exercise. And most of Indian publishers are very small. So they cannot go to those exercises. So that is the major issue. Indian publishers, they cannot take action against each and every infringement. That is I think creating awareness is a better effective way, would be a better effective way. Not going to the court again and again. I think that is not the solution. But Indian copyright already has civil as well as criminal options open for publishers to take action. Now coming to the implementation, I think creation of awareness, I think that is better. Inculcating this habit of respecting copywriting, that is a better option for us, not going to the court.
Right. Mr. Seshadri, anything that you would like to add to that?
I think here Mr. Rahul Goyal can help us definitely, because most often what happens is that the action that we need to take using the Indian codes or the law is more expensive than the revenue that I make from the book. So maybe Mr. Rahul through his associates can talk to the courts and see what kind of fee structure that these cases should have, because more often we want to go after the pirate or we want to go after the culprit. But when we calculate and say, okay, what is my loss of revenue versus what do I pay the legal fees and legal situations, that is where it becomes unattractive for Indian publisher.
Right.
No, sir, I am in agreement. In fact, this is what I said, while you were connecting back, that, there has to be a mechanism which needs to be developed in terms of encouraging authors and the publishers to take those steps. And it is again more about the affordability and the accessibility, the way you spoke about it earlier as well. As a publishing industry, there can be a mechanism which publishing industry can adopt to support the small-time publishers as well, or the authors as well, wherein you can have, a panel or something of that kind to assist them, to advise them, to look at the issues, and then they take an appropriate legal recourse. What we have also seen practically is that, there are situations which may require aggressive legal adjudication, right? Where you need to fight it to the court because that's a major industry issue and that is impacting everyone. There you can definitely have the larger, when the stakes are high, you can definitely have a larger team, a more robust team of legal advisors to represent you and to work with you. Then there are cases which are generally, at times people pirate, and piracy is there and they copy without knowing much. Therein the legal awareness would come into play. So at times what we have seen our legal profession is that the person who has committed some offense is not even aware that it was something which was punishable under the law or in violation of the law. So you can't really go and take action against them in the court of law. You need to just talk to them and tell them that, look, this is what you have done. It's a warning to you. Please don't do it again. So, you need to have those mechanisms in place wherein you would divide your cases in a low priority, mid priority, and high priority cases and actions. And then as an industry, you would move forward and support smaller players, smaller authors, and publishers along with the big ones.
So since we all agree that, there has to be more awareness, if you had to tell any 3 points that should be taken care of to make the public more aware of piracy and what they should not do, what would they be? Any suggestions that you would like to make here?
I think including a small chapter in the school textbooks on copyright, I think that is most important. Secondly, putting posters and pamphlets maybe wherever these photocopying machines are there. I think that is another step that is needed. And maybe few advertisements in some newspapers or social media campaigns should be run to reach out to the maximum people, to the remotest area. I think that could be, these are my suggestions.
Mr. Seshadri, what would you like to add to that?
I think I would say there is more inward than outward. So obviously outward is doing advocacy in whichever form. It could be media advertising, it could be publishing a book, All that are sort of outward looking actions that we need to take. But I think what I said earlier, or even Mr. here, is about inward looking and saying, can I make it affordable and accessible? And that is an internal action. You don't need the whole public to help you with that. It is an inward looking action that you need to take. If you can take that action as an industry, talking about affordability and accessibility, you're definitely going to address the issue in a larger interest, right? I don't have to go any advocacy. If you make it affordable, if you make it accessible, why would people pirate? So I think for me, that will be the larger issue. May not be music to many of my colleagues in the industry, but I always stood by that view that accessibility and affordability is an important factor. Thank you.
I think the reproduction rights organization is already in place, which has been made by publishers and authors together. Already in place, in existence, and working. The issue is people do not know about it, and then they refuse. This IRRO is already offering licenses for part of the work, for duplicating part of the work, replicating part of the work. That we are already doing it. But most of the people usually take the stand that under some fair dealing clause, they are not supposed to take any license. There is no need, and they are allowed as a part of education or in the course of instruction. I think again, same awareness campaign has to be run. But IRRO, that organization which issues licenses, special line at most affordable rates, the same thing I was telling earlier, maybe it won't cost even 5 to 10 paisa per page. That is the amount we are charging. I think that is already in existence, but the concept has to be promoted. At the government level, government needs to maybe, I think, convey some message to all the educational institutions that they should have a copyright policy. And that policy should be there on their website. I think that needs to be done. And they should issue a notification that IRRO is an organization, is an NGO, non-profit organization made by publishers and authors, and it is in existence, fully approved by Government of India, and it is there. And they have to take license in case the students are asking for some reproduction of some published works. I think this message has to be conveyed by the Education Ministry to all the educational institutions. I think that is needed.
Right. Mr. Goyal, anything that you would like to add to that?
So, I think my fellow panelists have covered almost everything, and I'm in absolute agreement with both of them. The only thing that I may want to add here is, after hearing Dr. Gupta, is that from the legal profession standpoint, when we work with a lot of our clients, we advise them to have the compliance programs in place, in which many organizations, they develop and they implement the compliance program. One thing which gets completely missed in this entire exercise is the compliance with the copyright or possibly the IP laws. So especially targeting and looking at the educational institutions, which possibly would be the biggest market. If they can be made aware about these, and there can be aggressive compliance programs internally developed, internally implemented, and internally marketed by these institutions, would possibly help a lot of issues which Dr. Gupta highlighted. So that could be the only one of the best ways to do, apart from what Mr. Seshadri suggested in terms of the inward-looking process. I think in terms of the outward-looking process, a compliance program at the educational institution would be helpful.
I'll just add one line to what Mr. Rahul Goyal said, particularly on the compliance side, right? So one of the things we may consider for the industry, this is what I'm recommending, hopefully listeners will listen to it and follow it, is that a lot of organizations always have compliance as part of their ordering and supplying process, right? Now, when an institution places an order, henceforth, we can always ask them to sign up a single or 2 lines saying, our institutions respects copyright, our institution does not pirate, and we have actually informed our students and communicated and articulated that they should not pirate. So why not we get some kind of a 5-liner agreement signed by the school at the time of placing the order or at the time of making supplies? At least it will operate as a deterrent in the beginning. And also people will say, I'm signing on a document, so I need to be careful. There's nothing wrong in that.
think this is a good move. I think it could be. I think all trade bodies, all publishers related bodies, as well as author related bodies, they would be ready to support this move. I think there is nothing against it. I think we would be ready to support this thing to all the members of our publishing industry. I think we will fully support it.
All right, so on that happy note, we've come to the end of today's discussion. I think it was a really insightful discussion. So I'd like to thank each one of you for being present here today. Any last message, any last advice that you would like to share before we actually conclude the session?
Salute and respect the author for his or her works.
Absolutely. I think that's very beautifully said.
Thank you.
Dr. Gupta, anything that you would like to say?
Shami has always commented. I think that is the biggest thing I would like to say. Salute. I think.
I think that should be the last word. That should be the last word. Nothing beyond that.
Absolutely. So thank you again for being with us today, and good luck for all your future endeavors.
Thank you so much for.
Thank you the participants also.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.